Hi, this is Scott Richardson, the bench doctor from the Liberal Gun Club. And today I thought I would show you the latest little modification I did to one of my guns. This is a M57 Yugoslavian Tokarev pistol. It's a copy of the Soviet T-33 Tokarev. Virtually the same gun. The only differences are the frame is a little bit longer to accommodate a longer magazine, and it's able to hold a little bit more ammo. And inside the slide, there is a captured guide rod and recoil spring. So those are the only two differences. You'll notice that the safety on this one is a hammer block safety or hammerlock safety. On some of them, it is a Glock style safe trigger. They were not produced with safeties originally from the factory, but when they went to import them as surplus weapons, the ATF said they were not allowed into the country until they had some sort of a safety. So the distributor on mine put in this sort of janky hammer safety. Later ones have the Glock style safety on them. So yours may differ, but it shouldn't be any real obstacle to doing this project. This gun had a terrible trigger pull from the factory. For a hammer-fired gun, it was just awful. It was probably 25 pounds, and it really felt like the safety was on when you were pulling the trigger. And I've always wanted to change that, but I was worried about modifying the spring in the gun because if I ruined it, I wouldn't have a replacement, and I would render the gun inoperable. So I found a spring online and ordered it, and I put it in the gun, and it made all the difference in the world. This thing's actually a pleasure to shoot now. This is the original factory spring. This is what it looks like, and it's big and chunky. The one that's in there now is quite a bit thinner and less material. What some people have done is to take a Dremel tool and remove material out of the body of this spring, which therefore weakens it, reducing the trigger pull. I was worried about doing that because it would, first of all, heat up the spring steel, which might lose its temper and strength. And secondly, it might just crack or break. And I didn't want to risk it until I had a replacement. It turns out I didn't need to do that because the replacement accomplished what I wanted. But I thought I'd show you the process for replacing that spring and also potentially restoring the original trigger, and removing the Glock style trigger if that's what you wanted to do. So first thing is, you'll notice this gun is empty. Nothing in the magazine well. Nothing in the chamber. I have no Tokarev ammo on the bench, so the gun is safe. I'll drop the slide. So on mine, on all the Tokarevs, we need to slide this clip out of our way because it's retaining this pin right here. This is the pin that goes through and operates the slide lock. On mine, I can just move it with my thumbnail. On some of them, it's a little bit snugger. So what you would do is just take a screwdriver or something and just slide that back, and now that pin is free. So now I'm going to turn the gun over, and I'm going to be pressing on this pin as I move the slide back a little bit, like that. And that allows that pin to just slide right out, and your slide to just slide right off the frame. And with mine, I need to remove this trigger pack because of my safety. If you don't have this style of safety, you won't need to do this. But it's a neat feature on these guns. It just slides right out of your way, like so. Now I'm going to take the grips off, and if you're not familiar with the Tokarevs, they have a sort of a clip system inside the grip that pinches the frame between the grip and this little spring inside. And so what I'm going to do is go ahead and take the grip off, and then it's easier to explain it to you and demonstrate it off the gun than it is to try to film straight down through the mag well. Okay, so what it is, we have this piece of spring steel right here, this T-shaped piece of steel, and it rotates. It just sort of pivots on this pin, and you can see in that orientation, it pinches the frame just a little bit between the grip and this piece of steel. That's all that's retaining the grip right there. So that kind of rotates like so. So when I'm taking it off the gun, it's in this position, and I'm just kind of pushing it that way with a screwdriver. It has that little notch in there for that purpose. On this one, on the other side, it's just a straight bar. It doesn't have that long bottom leg on it, but it's doing the same thing. I just rotate it down like so. And the grip comes right off. So when I put it back on, I'm just going to rotate this bar down, oops, like so, like that. You can see where it would trap that frame right in this gap right here and right here. I'll go ahead and put that back. Okay, now on mine I have to remove my hammer safety, set it out of my way. Now the trigger is ready to take out. These are very simple. What you're going to do is you're going to pull down on this and kind of push back on the trigger a little bit and rotate it out of your way. Comes right out of the gun. The spring that we're accessing is right here. It's this spring that's down in the magazine well, and it's retained by a little pin that crosses through. It goes right through the frame right there, and it just kind of clips up under that pin. So you just kind of reach in there and pull it back. And that pin is just sitting in this little trough right here. So this is the replacement, and this is the original. And you can see this replacement is quite a bit thinner, and it doesn't have all of this extra mass up here at the top. And it's considerably lightened up the trigger pull on the gun. So I'm very happy with it. I don't think I need to modify it any further. So I'm going to go ahead and take my old factory one out, put it away. And this, what I'm going to do is just slide it down into the gun and clip this up under that roll pin or that pin. So it just kind of goes in this way and clips into place like that. You can see it just move freely. And there it is. Put our trigger back in. This is the longer part is the bottom of your trigger. So it's just going to drop into the frame and slide right into the slot, the trigger slot, and kind of rotate up, and it'll clip into place. So now it's working. When I press my trigger, it's just pressing down on that spring. Okay. Now for me, I'm going to go ahead and put my safety back in. Drop it right back in that slot. I'm going to take my trigger pack, drop it in. And you don't have to worry. This trigger pack can only go in one way, and there's really no way you could make a mistake there. With mine, you can see how loose that is. So when I go to put the slide back on, I like to orient the gun this way, which kind of allows gravity to kind of keep it out of my way. One of the little quirks of owning an old surplus, well-used gun. So I'm just going to take my frame, put it back on the rails, and slide it like so. I can now take my slide release, put it in the proper hole there, slide it back like that. Now you can see it's working. Turn the gun over. I'm going to lock it in place with that clip. Okay, that's all working. Now I'm going to put my grips back on. I'm going to start with the right side. Just going to put it where it needs to go, and it will fall right into place. You'll feel it clip in there. Then I'm just going to rotate this clip up so it's capturing the frame. It's just pinching the frame. This one I'm going to put back on there, and I'm just going to rotate this arm back. I drop it right there. Reach down in there. Move it. There we go. That's it. The gun's back together. Drop my safety. Pull my trigger. Like that. There we go. That's all there is to replacing that spring or replacing your trigger on one of these, on a T-33 or a Yugoslavian M57. All right. Well, thank you. I hope that's useful and saves you a little bit of grief and aggravation.